Well, this is the first year that they grazed this entire area before I came and visited to film the actual destructive process, but it's all right. I've got years of filming that. I could tell from 100 yards away that the goats had been here because of the amount of death that I see, the barren, destroyed habitat that people celebrate. Now, what I did do this last year was take a lot of shots focusing on spots. So we'll go back to those spots and I'll just film them. This is one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually good. This is good for the trees. They like that, especially the young ones. But, you know, more importantly, well, it's not a matter of which one's more importantly, but to the point of what I was saying the other day about how the goats just kind of change the appearance of the weeds. I showed in the previous video how the weeds are laying down naturally because of time. And these are laying down because goats chewed on them and left them or trampled them, but they're still here. And now you have poop mixed in. Look at all that. See here's an example. This is exactly the state of the place that wasn't grazed. Just stuff that's laying down. So the goats were here, and even after the goats come in here, it's still just the same as if the goats hadn't been here. Oh goody, my favorite people, Cagwin and Dorwood. As if the leaf blowers in the background weren't noisy enough. Now we're gonna have them in close proximity. It's a different topic on different videos on different channels, but there isn't one day that I've come here documenting what the goats did that I haven't heard leaf blowers, no matter what time of day. Anyway, here's the coyote brush. Let's squat down and take a look at that. And remember, this was good for it. Nice, green, beautiful native plant. Providing benefits that people don't even think about, much less comprehend. Whether they're capable of comprehending it or not. Most people's minds don't even go there because the idea of worrying about whether this was benefiting other creatures doesn't even enter the minds of the superior species. That's our right as the superior species, right? We just get to declare things and call ourselves the smartest without actually having any knowledge of what we're talking about. There we go. Every year I say the same thing. Look how you can see right in there now. You used to not be able to see any of that. And we expect wildlife to be able to hide. We expect, I mean, not just from us, but from each other. And of course, this is a town of people that report and complain anytime wildlife are spotted, while we make it impossible for them to hide in the tiny bit of habitat, this pathetic excuse for habitat that remains. Good job, goats. I say it every year. The only thing that changes is that now what were once nice green branches look like sticks ready to go into a fireplace next to the fire fuel that the goats left behind. And in my really long rant, I talked about this in particular. How the goats can't be bothered with the inconvenience of eating around inside of fallen branch. Look at this. Last year, they were fenced into this area for 3 straight days, including nights. They slept inside of here and were in here during the day, just working it nonstop. And yet, they can't get, well, chose not to do this. The real heartbreak was that, someday I'll release all of this, but I've got so much footage. The real heartbreak was the work I was doing deep inside of here where no one could see me, trying to help the habitat recover. I put up fencing And the goats went right through it. They just went through my fencing. But right next to them going through my fencing in order to eat the native plants, they were doing this. This inconvenience will stop them from eating this undesirable crap, but a barbed wire fence won't stop them from coming through to eat native plants. The very things that the signs tell you the goats are here to promote, to improve the situation of the lack of native plants, to reduce the invasive plants, to improve the habitat. It's all complete and utter rubbish. In fact, it's the opposite. Habitat my ass. Another topic that someday I'll release my full documentation of it is the disappearance of the wildlife. You know, the displacement of the wildlife. Where they go, I don't know. But, you know, at a minimum, seeing the families of turkeys would be a daily thing for me. And then once the goats come through, I don't see them for like 4 or 5 months. They won't come back. Barbed wire fencing, useless, abandoned barbed wire fencing, still here from the old ranching days before the land was purchased from the ranchers. Serves absolutely no purpose except to be a threat to human, to wildlife, and support fire fuel that the goats couldn't be bothered with. I used the example of the fallen branches deterring the goats from the fire fuel over there. Here I have an example of barbed wire deterring them, but when there are green native plants, the barbed wire will no longer deter them. Goat poop everywhere, goat poop everywhere. This park smells like goat poop. There we go. Little sprinkles, little sprinkles. It's not little sprinkles, it's a carpet. It's a carpet that never ends. One of the reasons I suspect that the goat grazing programs aren't actually allowed near private property. Nobody wants their property smelling like goat shit. And look at the wasteland. Look at the wasteland. Look at the stripped bare lower branches. Look at the clear view of what once was protected from sight, with the foliage of important native vegetation. God, look at this. Look at this. Oh, well, poop's a good thing. Shut up. You're so full of crap. Come let the goats shit in your yard. Oh, manure. You know, it's fertilizer. You're right. It is fertilizer for invasive weeds that they left behind and shoved the seeds into the soil. Stop acting like you like the smell of poop whenever it benefits animal agriculture. And these, by the way, where the barbed wire is missing, I did that. The only progress done here, making it more wildlife friendly, I did. Last time I was here, I filmed that this was laying down, that it was flattened out. And I said at the time, when the goats come through, they're just gonna trample over shit that's already laying down. Stupid, stupid, stupid. And I pan from here right over to exactly what I told you was happening over where they planted the new trees. Oh, this area needs to be protected. This area needs to be protected from the goats. They didn't let the goats come through here, obviously. Why? Because the trees that humans plant deserve to be protected from the destructive livestock, but not the naturally occurring ones, not the actual wildlife habitat. This is going to be fast because I do this every year, but I just want you to look at what is here after the goats is the fire fuel that they were supposed to get rid of, and their poop, and stripped bare native plants, and the poison oak, which is positive whether you like it or not. As far as native habitat goes, it's positive. The black oaks are stripped bare. the saplings. Like, you can't even tell that they're here because it's just all different types of death blending together now. You can't tell the different types of plants apart because they're all sticks. There are no identifying qualities remaining on any of the native plants because they've been reduced to sticks. You guys want to talk about fear of fire, while goats turn healthy plants into sticks and leave behind fire fuel. God, look at this. This is a native black walnut that was just gorgeous. These were all beautiful native black walnuts. They don't just strip them bare. It's like a violent, destructive process. This is the benefit to native habitat that goats provide. Anything that was good is now effed. Look at this. This looks worse than if a hurricane came through. Poison oak, coyote brush, native sedges and reeds and plantains. It's all just shit now. And some of you are saying, oh, well, you can't expect the goats to get all of the fire fuel. Let me tell you something. There's only one thing remaining, and it is the fire fuel. The native plants, decimated. Decimated. Fire fuel, invasive. God, look at this. Just imagine, just stop thinking like a human and imagine that you're actually a species that lives out here and has to survive out here, and someone does this to your home. Just the audacity to say that you did something good for them. How can anything live here? A predator can't hide here. Prey can't hide here. Herbivores don't have anything left to snack on out of the small choices that they had in the first place. The powers that be prevent water from coming through here. In some areas, the irrigation from the park, the waste of recycled water, will make a little pond. But as far as natural water, nope, we stole all of that. This is the bank where I sometimes would find the hooker's evening primrose. Gee, I wonder if there's any here or not. There's nothing here. Pretty easy for me to determine whether or not any of the native hooker's evening primrose or other native plants are still here, because it's just one sprawling deathscape. Thanks, goats. Make sure to spread the invasive weeds into the creek bed itself. Absolute, complete, and total failure. It's not just a failure, it's the exact opposite of what they tell you it is. This is an anti-habitat, anti-native plant promotion of invasive fire fuel program. Tiny bit of green left here from these tough native plants that didn't get completely destroyed. The only hint of green remaining. I'm looking straight through. I can see anyone and everyone that would go by on that path over there, if anyone was there, can see straight through, and they can see straight into here. That is not the way that it was. That is just a drastic change in what being here is like. You're suddenly exposed to all eyes. I relate a little bit because I don't want to be seen kind of the way that wildlife wouldn't want to be seen. I just want to be left to do my thing in here. This was a combination of beautiful green and scarlet leaves of poison oak, some more black walnut saplings. Last time I walked through here filming, which I didn't publish yet, By the time I'm home, I'm usually too depressed to do the editing. But last time I pointed out the only thing good, the only thing green in here were the native plants, the native saplings. And I said, the goats are going to come through, destroy what's good, and all the bad is still going to be here. Everything bad that you see here is what the goats are supposed to be getting rid of. It's actually the only thing that remains afterward. Unless you count wood. You want the goats to eat the wood? Well, they're not doing that either. Leave that to the intelligent humans who decide that native trees aren't supposed to fall. Like, God didn't think that one through. Stupid ass trees sometimes fall and branches fall. Better send the humans in to haul it all away. Look at this. It's just a hideous, hideous deathscape. We have the nerve to call it habitat and the nerve to say that it's good. Oh shit. Well, they got through my barrier again. That's amazing. They got through my barrier again. I was hoping that a couple of saplings would remain for the wildlife. You just can't stop a plague of 500 animals hell-bent on eating native plants. Here's a interesting topic. Here's a controversial side topic. All the wire that I used to try and protect these plants was already out here. All I did was try and put it to good use. Now, whether the goats simply drug this around or if humans came in here and moved it so that the goats could complete their destructive practice, one thing remains undeniable. It still got left behind. So anybody that's gonna try and criticize me that I used wiring to try and protect native plants, you need to understand that the powers that be never bothered to remove it after the land was purchased in the first place. And I mean, they've had decades to do it. Decades. They're too busy spending their money on leaf blowers. There it is. I told you. Told you I can't come here without hearing them. Amazing. You freaking goats. Oh, anyway, so the powers that be, the purchasers of the land, the important people in the city, whatever you want to call them, they didn't see fit to make the ranchers take all of their dangerous debris with them. No, that's fine. Leave it. Leave it. Let the wildlife deal with it. Now the goat herders come through. Just make sure that the goats have access to destroy the native plants, but leave the barbed wire afterward. We'll blame it on the activist. We'll blame it on the activist. It should be his job to figure out how to haul away the wiring that we left out here. Look how much fire fuel is on the ground. Son of a... Look at this. Well, look at this. Now I'm obligated, just because I feel bad for the wildlife, to try and pick up the barbed wire that is now strung all over the place. Well, I got to put the camera down now and try and deal with all this barbed wire, but I'll show you, like, I was trying to save this oak sapling and the oak sapling inside of here. The year before, I'd actually put some native plants in here, and it was pretty heartbreaking when they were just starting to thrive and the goats came through and brought it to an end. Goats, making sure that native plants don't stand a chance. Listen to the sound of human intelligence in the background. It kind of matches the visual of human intelligence. Let me ask you something as I show you all of this post-goat grazing. After the goats have come through and done their good deed of making sure that this isn't a fire fuel area. You see these sticks and you see the kindling, and you see all the yellow fire fuel on the ground. do you feel like this won't catch on fire? Do you feel like the goats have turned this into a non-fire fuel threat situation? Okay, question 2. Look around. Look at the state of the native plants. Do you feel like the native plants were promoted? Do you feel like the native plants benefited? And if you're just tuning in and you're confused as to which native plants I'm referring to, it's a great question because you can't see them because they're all fucking dead. You heard me mention a black walnut a few times. This is what black walnut would look like. Beautiful, beautiful black walnut, native California tree. The only reason you can see that is because that one is too tall for the goats to have destroyed. Everything else is a deathscape. This is what it would look like out here. This is what the goats have provided. The goats have left behind fire fuel and no native plants, except for the ones that they actually couldn't kill. They tried. They did their damnedest. It just couldn't quite kill them all. Look at that, would you? One of my barriers survived. But unfortunately, there was just that one tiny little sapling inside. But, you know, the ground would be covered with this sort of health and green if the goats hadn't turned it into this. Just dead branches. It looks like winter in the Midwest, only uglier. So let's hear it, please. Excuse makers, expose yourselves, make fools of yourselves online. Tell me about how great this is. As you see the death behind me, tell me how great the goat grazing program is for getting rid of fire fuel and promoting native life. Go ahead, I want to hear it. Don't forget to provide links to all the studies you've been doing, all the footage you have, all the documentation that you've been doing, all the places that you visit to prove firsthand that what you're saying is correct. Is that reasonable? Can I ask you to have something to back up your argument? This is the spot I usually leave from. I better get one shot of it because this is the walkout in which I said, look, most of the fire fuel is laying down. By the time the goats get here, it's already going to be looking short. The only thing the goats are going to do is provide fertilizer for the next wave of the invasive plants that they left on the ground.